Hi, this is Bishop Craig in Northern Michigan, and this is Take One for the week of September 15. Peace be with you. By the time most of you see this, I will have hopefully had a quiet Monday. I turned 65 on Wednesday, and some time on the dock on Monday afternoon is probably as close as I will get to celebrating because it's a busy week. But I'm grateful for that time on the dock and hope I get it. Maybe we'll get out on the boat. So, yeah. On Tuesday, we'll travel back to Lansing, so I will do some desk work and then be in place for our adult theological education class Tuesday night. It's been great the first 2 weeks. I remind you that if you're not registered, we are able to share this class far and wide. And it is on the Synod YouTube page. It's also on the ELCA advocacy page, I think. So I encourage you to watch it and to share it. Wednesday is my birthday, and I get to do Zoom meetings. I'm really grateful for Zoom because we have people that want meetings. And if I had to travel, David had to travel, Chrissy had to travel from place to place. People who say, we want a meeting and this is when we want it. We'd have to choose or, first come, first serve. And now pretty much with Zoom, thank you Zoom, we are able to meet with people when they want and need it and do several meetings in a day. So in the morning, I will meet with a group from 2 churches in Kentwood. That's the Lutheran and Episcopal Partnership. Pastor Mike Warnick is retiring the end of the month, and the diocese and the synod will talk to them about moving forward. Then on Wednesday midday, I have staff meeting. And on Wednesday evening, I'll be meeting with the Church Council at Prince of Peace. Pastor Rachel is, I hope, doing more than considering a sabbatical, and we will talk about sabbaticals. The thing I will say about sabbatical here is that last week at the Autumn Leadership event, as we talked about mental health, the presenter, a therapist, talking about burnout in the helping professions, said kind of the best thing is to have sabbaticals built into the process. So I encourage congregations to do that. A sabbatical is better than the bishop needing to come in suddenly and put a pastor on administrative leave. So sabbaticals are good things. I'm still grateful for mine. On Thursday, I will spend the day on Zoom as I attend from my basement or the office, the Trinity Lutheran Seminary Advisory Board in Columbus. When it's an in-person meeting, we get to drive to Columbus and have a 24-hour meeting, which includes spending the night and driving back. So I'm really grateful that this is a 9 to 4, I think, meeting on Zoom, and I don't have to drive, and I can sleep in my own bed. So I'm thankful for that. And then on Sunday, I will be at Bethlehem in Lansing as they celebrate 150 years. Pastor Sprang will be at Christ the King in Gladwin as they celebrate 40 years. And Pastor Bright will be at Peace in Sparta as they install their new pastor, Pastor Bridget. I know it as Wheatley. I recently heard it's Watley. Pastor Bright is trying to track down the definitive word for me. So Pastor Bridget, I apologize if I've been getting your name wrong, and I assure you that when I get the definitive word, I will do my best to learn it. So that's the week. The gospel reading has my attention today. It's from Mark, and Jesus is traveling through Galilee, and he wants no one to know it because he is teaching the disciples. So the words that Jesus says in this reading for Sunday are meant for disciples, not for others. So they're meant for the original 12 and for any of us that desire or claim to be disciples of Jesus. And I think there are 3 lessons. First, Jesus talks about his own ministry. He explains to them that he will be betrayed into human hands and be killed, and on the third day rise. The gospel. And the disciples don't understand it. And they are afraid to ask, what do you mean? And we don't understand it either. Or maybe we understand it intellectually. But when it comes to following Jesus into being betrayed and dying and trusting new life, well, we don't want to go there. We want Jesus to postpone life, or to keep death at bay, or to negate death. I am turning 65, as I say, on Wednesday, and I am feeling my mortality. Every so often you get to realize that the road behind you is longer than the road ahead. And I have no doubt that there is new life on the other side of death. And I really like life here. And so I'd like to postpone Jesus. If you're here listening, postpone that as long as possible. And I'm very mindful that my older brother, was diagnosed with cancer at 67 and was gone 8 months later. So death becomes pretty real. Pastor Betsy was quite a shock. That continues to be with me. So we certainly want to postpone life. The idea that we're gonna die and there's not a way to fight it, that's a hard one. And if it's true for ourselves and for those we love, it seems to be even truer for institutions we care about and to which we've devoted our lives, and especially perhaps expressions of the church, both ministries of the church, the way the church always did things, and even the lives of the church. I've, in the last few days, had conversations with leaders in 3 congregations, and we know that we're going to end, but not yet. We're not ready. Isn't there one more thing we can do? Bishop, don't you have a lot of money you can give us? One wise congregation leader laughed and said to me, you could give us all the money we need, and the problem is there's no one to cut the grass. So it's not always, while money may be the presenting issue, it's not always about money. And so, we have every confidence that whether it's the death of a person or the death of a church, Jesus will bring new life. But as I have said before, Jesus serves up new life, and we send it back to the kitchen because it's not the life we wanted or expected. So on the heels of this first lesson, while Jesus is talking about going to the cross and dying, the disciples have been talking about who among them is the greatest. So Jesus redefines greatness. Must become the last of all and the servant of all. In other words, must follow Jesus into betrayal and death. And on Monday, Thursday, the foot washing, we're going to be foot washers, the servant like Jesus. That's kind of poetic. It's gross, but it's become poetic and nice. Becoming the least of all, the servant of all. We human beings are pretty good at mistreating servants and the least of all. And so it's, it'd be okay to serve if people appreciated it, but it's the stuff that comes with being a servant that gets old and tiring and exhausting and humiliating. And Jesus says, yeah, that's it. And then the third lesson, Jesus puts a child in the midst of them and says, whoever welcomes one of these little ones welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. And there we get all excited about cute little kids or youth. And that's right. We welcome kids into our church. We welcome youth into our church. But it's bigger than that. It's not only the kids in our congregation, but it is the least of these. And, we could pick them out. It's migrant children and maybe their families. I don't mean to be political, but that's the first thing that came to my mind. It's people who live with disabilities. And their families. This is the stuff I have, heard this week. We can go on. It is the least. We welcome the least. We welcome Jesus. I'm thinking of migrant children's because John Legend, the singer who's on The Voice, I guess, he did a video. I guess you can Google it because he's from Springfield, Ohio. And he said, you know, when you welcome migrants, you welcome Christ. Wow. Yeah. So 3 hard lessons. And I'm always mindful when the talk is to disciples, is that there is a difference between being saved, which Jesus does for all of us, and choosing to be a disciple, which some do, some of us do, and some of us don't. So the good news is, you know, Jesus is not going to turn his back on you if you choose not to be a disciple. But if you're serious about discipleship, here's 3 lessons to grapple with on September 22nd. So this is Bishop Craig in Northern Michigan, and this is Take One, and I am glad to spend these minutes with you. And now I'm going to go outside and sit on the dock. May the peace of Christ be with you always. Take care.